The air conditioning in Victor Rosenthal's office runs cold enough to preserve a corpse, but sweat still beads on his upper lip as he works the combination to his private safe. 3 rights, 2 lefts, another right. His manicured fingers tremble slightly against the dial. I've been in Dubai less than 24 hours, and already I'm watching a man worth millions prepare to air out his dirty laundry. Some things are universal, even in the land of gold-plated everything. "Mr. Hunt?" Rosenthal says without turning around. "I appreciate your discretion in coming after hours." I lean against his mahogany desk, taking in the view through floor-to-ceiling windows. Dubai glitters beneath us like a jewelry box someone kicked over. 52 stories up, and I can still feel the desert heat pressing against the glass. "Discretion costs extra," I tell him. "But then, so does my plane ticket from Phoenix." He nods absently, still focused on the safe. The man moves with the careful precision of someone who counts things for a living. Everything in this office has been arranged to impress. The abstract art that probably cost more than my annual income, the desk that gleams like it's never seen a coffee ring, the subtle lighting that makes even the dust motes look expensive. The safe clicks open. Rosenthal exhales, his shoulders dropping half an inch. "My wife doesn't know I've contacted you," he says, removing a slim manila folder and a velvet pouch. His neatly trimmed beard frames a mouth that's gone tight at the corners. "She cannot know." "Wives rarely appreciate being investigated," I say. "It's one of those universal constants." Rosenthal empties the pouch onto a black felt mat. Diamonds scatter like ice chips, catching the light with vicious clarity. They're small, but even my untrained eye can tell they're high quality. He arranges them with a jeweler's loop in his right eye. "These are fakes," he says, his voice flat. "Good ones. The casual observer wouldn't know. But you're not casual." "No, Mr. Hunt, I am not." He straightens up, his eyes finding mine. They're the color of wet slate, calculating. "I've been dealing diamonds for 30 years. I know when something's wrong, even when it looks perfect on the surface." I recognize the metaphor for what it is. "Tell me about your wife." His jaw tightens. "Caroline is captivating. 15 years younger. We met when she was modeling jewelry for a charity auction. She has expensive tastes, but I've never denied her anything." The story unfolds like they always do. Younger wife, older wealthy man, the gradual distance, the suspicious absences, the unexplained meetings. I've heard it 1,000 times in cheap apartments and luxury penthouses alike. Only the price tags change. "When did you notice the diamonds were switched?" I ask, interrupting his monologue about Caroline's sudden interest in Islamic art exhibitions. Rosenthal blinks, then picks up one of the stones with a pair of tweezers. 3 weeks ago, I regularly audit my private collection. These pieces," he gestures to the scattered diamonds, "should be pink, extremely rare, worth about 4 million. These are common white diamonds, artificially colored, and worth perhaps 1/10 of that." I whistle low. That's a significant discrepancy. "Indeed." He opens the folder next, spreading photographs across the desk. The images show a striking brunette, Caroline, I assume, entering various hotels and restaurants. In several, she's accompanied by a tanned man in expensive suits. "This man calls himself Prince Karim. He's no prince, and I doubt that's his real name." "You've had her followed before." It's not a question, but Rosenthal nods anyway. "My security team. They're discreet, but limited in what they can discover. I need someone who can dig deeper." He slides another photo forward. "This was taken at the Gold Souk 2 days ago. She's passing something to him." I study the image. It's grainy, but clear enough to show Caroline Rosenthal's elegant hand extending a small velvet pouch, similar to the one now empty on the desk, to her companion. Their fingers don't touch, but something in their posture suggests intimacy. You think she's selling your diamonds? Or being manipulated into stealing them? Rosenthal rubs his thumb against his forefinger, a nervous tell. Caroline knows nothing about the diamond business. This man, whoever he is, could be using her. Or they could be partners, I say, keeping my voice neutral. How long have they been meeting? 6 months at least. He closes the folder abruptly. I need to know what they're planning. I need evidence before I confront her. I let the silence stretch, watching him. Men like Rosenthal don't hire people like me just to confirm their suspicions. There's always more. What happens when you have this evidence? I ask. His eyes flick up to the corner of the room, where a discreet security camera blinks its red eye. I follow his gaze, noticing for the first time just how many cameras monitor this office. I count at least 4. I have considerable assets to protect, Mr. Hunt. Our prenuptial agreement has specific clauses regarding infidelity and criminal activity. There it is. Not just a heartbroken husband, a businessman protecting his empire. My daily rate is $2,000 plus expenses, I say. I'll need a week advance and access to her schedule. Money is not an issue, Rosenthal says quickly. He reaches into his desk drawer and removes a thick envelope. This should cover your initial costs. I'll have my assistant send you Caroline's known appointments. I take the envelope without counting it. The money never lies, even when the clients do. I should warn you, I say, pocketing the advance. Sometimes what you find isn't what you're looking for. Rosenthal turns back to his safe, returning the fake diamonds and photographs. I'm not looking for anything, Mr. Hunt. I'm merely protecting what's mine. As he closes the safe, I notice his reflection in the polished surface of a nearby award. For just a second, his face slips, the composed businessman replaced by something harder, colder. Then it's gone, locked away as securely as his diamonds. I stand, feeling the weight of the envelope in my pocket. I'll start surveillance tomorrow. Don't contact me unless it's an emergency. He nods, extending his hand. His grip is dry and firm, but something in his palm feels calloused in a way that doesn't match his manicured appearance. I'm trusting you with sensitive matters, Mr. Hunt. Trust has nothing to do with it, I reply. You're paying me to find the truth. The truth doesn't care who trusts what. As I leave, I feel the electronic eyes of the security cameras following my exit. In the elevator, I count 3 more. By the time I reach the lobby, I've tallied 12 separate cameras, all positioned to leave no blind spots. A man that cautious about being watched must have plenty he doesn't want seen, but I take his money anyway, because that's the job, diving into other people's murky waters while trying not to drown in my own. The gold souk at mid-afternoon swallows me like a glittering python. Narrow alleyways twist between shops where gold gleams in stacked bracelets, and necklaces hang like metallic vines. The air tastes of cardamom, diesel exhaust, and tourist desperation. I've swapped my usual jacket for a loose linen shirt, still too hot for this Arizona native, but it helps me disappear among the camera-wielding foreigners. My own camera, a high-end Nikon with telephoto lens, hangs from my neck like the perfect tourist prop. Nobody looks twice at another middle-aged American taking too many photos of nothing in particular. According to Rosenthal's intel, Caroline appears at the east entrance to the market at precisely 2:17 p.m. Punctuality, the courtesy of the suspicious or the trait of someone with a timetable to keep. She moves with deliberate grace, wearing oversized sunglasses and a flowing cream dress that catches the light. Her dark hair is pulled back in a severe knot that accentuates cheekbones sharp enough to cut glass. She doesn't look around. People who believe they're not being watched rarely do. I pretend to photograph a display of gold bangles, catching her reflection in the polished metal. There's something predatory in her movements, a focused intensity beneath the casual elegance. She's hunting for something, or someone, a woman with a purpose, not a bored socialite killing time. I let 3 people slip between us before following. Too close and she might sense me, too far and I'll lose her in this maze of commerce. The crowd provides cover but creates obstacles. Vendors calling out prices, tourists haggling with theatrical indignation, porters pushing hand carts loaded with merchandise. I sidestep a family posing for photos and nearly collide with a man selling counterfeit watches. He grins, displaying gold teeth. Thinking he's found a customer, I smile apologetically and move on, keeping Caroline's cream dress in sight. She stops at a jewelry stall, examining pieces with practiced disinterest. I duck into a narrow space between shops, pretending to adjust my camera settings while watching her in my peripheral vision. Her fingers hover over displays of rings and pendants, but she buys nothing. This isn't a shopping trip. It's a detour, a way to ensure she isn't being followed. Amateur move. Watching someone check if they're being tailed is like watching someone lie. Once you know the tells, they might as well be holding up a sign. The souk constricts around us as we move deeper, the ceiling dropping lower, the shops crowding closer. Sweat trails down my back like melting ice. Caroline turns right, then left, her pace quickening. She's heading toward the waterfront, where the market thins out. Maintaining distance becomes harder. I pause at a spice seller's stall, inhaling the sharp scent of sumac and cumin while tracking her through a sea of bodies. She emerges from the covered market into harsh sunlight, her dress flaring around her legs in the hot breeze coming off the Dubai Creek. Across the water, glass skyscrapers shimmer like mirages. Caroline checks her watch, a delicate gold thing that probably costs more than my car, then heads west along the waterfront. 5 minutes later, the Burj Al Noor Hotel rises before us, its twisted glass facade reflecting fractured sunlight. It's one of those places where the doormen can spot money, or the lack of it, from 50 paces. Caroline glides through the revolving door without breaking stride. The doorman nods respectfully, not even glancing at her face. Recognition of status, not person. I give it 30 seconds, then follow. My tourist camouflage works well enough in the souk, but hotels like this have a different immune system. I adjust my posture, straightening my shoulders and adopting the faintly bored expression of someone who belongs. The trick isn't looking rich. It's looking like you don't care who knows it. The lobby stretches out in acres of marble and understated opulence. Water tinkles from a sculptured fountain, the sound designed to make you forget you're in a desert. I spot Caroline immediately, standing by the elevators, her attention fixed on her phone. I veer toward the bar, positioning myself behind a massive floral arrangement. Through gaps in the exotic blooms, I have a clear line of sight to the elevator bank. I don't have to wait long. A man approaches Caroline from the direction of the hotel's signature restaurant. Even from this distance, his confidence radiates like heat waves. Tall, deeply tanned, with dark hair styled to look casually perfect. His suit, light gray linen with a subtle sheen, probably cost what most people spend on a month's rent. This would be Prince Karim, I presume. He doesn't kiss Caroline's cheek or take her hand. Instead, he stops just outside her personal space, head tilted slightly. They could be business acquaintances discussing stock options, Only the slight flush across her chest suggests otherwise. I lift my camera, adjusting the zoom. Through the viewfinder, I catch his eyes, sharp, calculating, constantly scanning the lobby even as he smiles at her. Those aren't the eyes of royalty. They're the eyes of someone who's spent a lifetime looking for exits. They move to a seating area partially screened by decorative panels. Perfect for them, less perfect for me. I circle around, finding a new position near a Japanese tour group. Their excited chatter provides audio cover as I snap photos, the camera silent in professional mode. Caroline speaks first, her lips barely moving. The prince nods, his expression unchanged. Neither of them touches their drinks. I can't hear them, but their body language tells a story of tension wrapped in forced casualness. This isn't romance. It's business with undertones of something darker. 15 minutes into their meeting, Caroline reaches into her handbag. The movement is smooth, practiced. She withdraws a small velvet pouch, dark blue, similar to the one Rosenthal showed me, but not identical. Her hand extends halfway across the table, then stops. She says something that makes Karim's eyes narrow. I press the shutter button, capturing the moment. Click. Their heads turn slightly toward each other. Click. His hand moves to cover hers, not in affection, but to conceal the exchange. Click. The pouch disappears into his jacket pocket. Click. He says something that makes her shoulders stiffen. Click. Their meeting ends abruptly. No handshakes, no lingering looks. Professional, clinical. Caroline rises first, walking toward the main entrance while Karim remains seated, checking his phone with studied nonchalance. I track her until she disappears through the revolving doors, then turn my attention back to him. Prince Karim, or whatever his real name might be, waits exactly 3 minutes by the ornate clock on the wall. Then he stands, buttoning his jacket with a practiced flick of his fingers. The velvet pouch might as well be radioactive for all the attention he pays to the pocket containing it. He walks not toward the lobby exit, but deeper into the hotel, toward the executive elevators that require a key card. I capture his retreating back, focusing on the room key he extracts from his pocket. The shot is clear enough to read the room number. 4517. Either he's staying at the hotel, or he has access to someone else's room. Either way, it's information I can use. As I lower my camera, I catch the eye of a security guard watching me from near the concierge desk. His expression is professionally blank, but his posture has shifted toward me. Time to go. I sling the camera strap over my shoulder and head for the exit, moving with purpose but not hurry. Just another tourist who's realized the drinks here cost more than his daily budget. Outside, the heat hits me like a physical blow after the Arctic chill of the hotel lobby. I hail a taxi, directing the driver to a coffee shop 3 blocks away. In the back seat, I review the photos on my camera's display. The exchange is clearly visible, proof for Rosenthal that something's happening, but not enough to tell me what game they're really playing. The velvet pouch could contain diamonds, as Rosenthal suspects. Or it could hold something else entirely. In my experience, people rarely go to such lengths for simple infidelity. There's usually money involved, or power, or both. As the taxi pulls away from the Burj Al Noor, I glance back at its gleaming exterior. Somewhere in that tower of glass and steel, a fake prince is examining the contents of a small velvet pouch, and I'm still on the outside, looking in. Midnight in a 3-star hotel room in Dubai feels the same as midnight in any city. Anonymous, suspended, the kind of limbo where truth sometimes surfaces if you stare at it long enough. I've spread the day's harvest across the faded bedspread. Photographs printed from my digital camera at a copy shop that didn't ask questions, notes scribbled on hotel stationery, a digital voice recorder, and my laptop displaying a grid of information that doesn't quite connect. The air conditioner rattles like it's counting down to its own death. Outside my window, Dubai glitters with impossible wealth, but in here, it's just me and the shadows of other people's secrets. I arrange the surveillance photos in chronological order. Caroline Rosenthal entering the gold souk. Caroline examining jewelry she has no intention of buying. Caroline meeting Prince Karim in the hotel lobby. The handoff of the velvet pouch, their expressions during the exchange, her controlled tension, his practiced nonchalance. The final shot of him walking toward the executive elevators, room key visible. Details matter in this business. The way Caroline checked her surroundings before entering the souk, but not when leaving it. The fact that Karim's suit was tailored but slightly too flashy for actual old money. The way neither of them touched their drinks during the meeting. Professional behavior, not lovers stealing moments. I reach for the voice recorder, scrolling back to the audio I captured using a directional mic from my position near the Japanese tourists. The quality isn't perfect, too much ambient noise, but snippets emerge through the static. Confirmed the authenticity? Caroline's voice, low and controlled. A male voice, presumably Karim's. My buyer is satisfied with the samples. More background noise, then. Require additional verification before final transfer. Time is a factor. Caroline again, a hint of irritation breaking through her composure. Deal closes Friday, not before. Karim's voice, final and unyielding. Friday, 3 days from now. Whatever they're planning culminates then. I switch to my laptop, reviewing information I pulled together between the meeting and nightfall. A contact at the hotel, a concierge with gambling debts and a fondness for American dollars, provided what he could on Prince Karim. The man checked in as Karim Al-Sayed, claiming business connections to the Saudi royal family. Pays in cash, tips generously, receives no visitors except at the lobby or restaurants. Room service for one. The staff whispered that he's either genuine royalty or an exceptional fraud. No one seems inclined to find out which. More interesting are the encrypted texts I extracted from the hotel's guest Wi-Fi. My laptop runs specialized software, not exactly legal, but essential in my line of work. It captured packet data from the network when both Caroline and Karim were connected. Most is unintelligible, encrypted with serious protection, but fragments slipped through. K. Confirm pink collection complete. Unknown. Authentication pending. K. Buyer requires absolute verification. Unknown. Time window narrows. Dubai customs increasing scrutiny after Riyadh incident. I pull up a browser window where I've been researching recent events. 3 weeks ago, Saudi authorities intercepted a shipment of stolen diamonds being smuggled through diplomatic channels. No arrests announced, but rumors of high-profile involvement. The timing aligns with when Rosenthal noticed his pink diamonds had been replaced with fakes. I lean back against the headboard, connecting dots. Caroline somehow accessed her husband's private collection, swapped valuable pink diamonds with convincing fakes, and is now working with Prince Karim to sell them. But something doesn't fit. If they're selling the stolen diamonds, what was in the velvet pouch she passed to him today? I review the photos again, zooming in on the exchange. The pouch is similar to the one Rosenthal showed me, but not identical. His was black velvet, this one is dark blue. And it's slightly larger, the shape suggesting not loose diamonds, but something more substantial. A piece of jewelry, perhaps? Or documentation? My eyes drift to a news alert on my laptop. Rare pink star diamond to be displayed at Dubai International Jewelry Exhibition this weekend. The exhibition opens Friday, the same day as the deal mentioned in their conversation. The pattern emerges, not just a simple theft and sale, but something larger. My gut says they're using Rosenthal's stolen pink diamonds as authentication samples for a bigger heist. The velvet pouch likely contained verification that the samples passed inspection, possibly along with plans for the exhibition job. I rub my eyes, feeling the late hour in the grit beneath my eyelids. My coffee sits cold and forgotten on the nightstand. As I reach for it, something stops me, a subtle wrongness in the room's atmosphere. The air feels different, disturbed in ways that weren't caused by my movements. I scan the room slowly, cataloging. The door's security chain is engaged just as I left it. The bathroom door stands half open, exactly how I left it. The closet door is completely closed. I left it open 2 inches. My muscles tense, but I force myself to move casually, as though I've noticed nothing. I take a sip of cold coffee, grimace naturally at the taste, and continue reviewing photos while my eyes track details around the room. My laptop bag leans against the desk chair. The zipper pull faces left. I always leave it facing right, a habit born from years of checking if someone's been through my things. Someone has searched my bag while I was out. I stand, stretching as if tired, and move to the bathroom. Once inside, I close the door and run the water, using the noise as cover while I check the room thoroughly. The bug is small, but not invisible. A listening device attached beneath the desk, professionally installed. Not hotel security. They would have confronted me directly. Someone wants to know what I know. Back at the desk, I examine my laptop bag more carefully. The contents appear undisturbed, but the inner pocket zipper is slightly open. Inside, my backup flash drive is missing, the one containing basic information about the case, including Rosenthal's name and contact details. Nothing critical, but enough to identify who hired me and why. I don't need to check my camera. I kept it with me all day, along with the memory cards. The photos are safe. But someone knows I'm investigating Caroline Rosenthal and her prince. The question is, who? Hotel security acting on a complaint from Karim? Caroline's own people? Or Rosenthal himself, checking whether I'm doing the job he's paying for? I glance at the listening device again, then make a decision. Leaving it in place, I return to the bed and continue reviewing evidence, but now I'm careful about what I say aloud as I work. Nothing here connects them romantically, I mutter, loud enough for the bug to catch. Just looks like business meetings. Need more surveillance to determine nature of relationship. Let them think I'm still focused on a potential affair. Meanwhile, I type notes on my laptop. Possible diamond heist planned for Friday exhibition. Caroline plus Prince, likely using stolen pink diamonds as authentication for larger job. Need to determine if Rosenthal is target or unwitting supplier. I save the file to an encrypted partition and shut down the computer. Tomorrow I'll need to visit the exhibition venue, then follow Caroline again. I'll also need to secure a new hotel room, one that hasn't been compromised. As I pack away the evidence, a new thought surfaces, cold and unwelcome. If they found my room so quickly, they likely know who hired me, which means either Rosenthal's security has leaks, or he's not being entirely truthful about his own involvement. I tuck my gun, brought into the country through channels best not discussed, under my pillow and lie back, fully clothed, lights still on. Sleep isn't an option, not with the knowledge that I'm being watched. The case has escalated from suspicious wife to potential international diamond heist in less than 24 hours. And somewhere in Dubai, someone is listening to my room, reviewing what I've learned, and deciding whether I'm a threat that needs to be eliminated before Friday arrives. The Diamond Appraisal Office hides in plain sight, a nondescript door wedged between a luxury watch repair shop and an overpriced cafe. No signage, no window displays, just a small brass plaque with an engraved insignia that means nothing unless you know what you're looking for. I arrive at 7:30 in the morning, when the city's financial district is still yawning awake, briefcases and coffee cups moving in sluggish procession toward glass towers. "The early hour isn't my choice," Anna Youssef insisted. "First appointment before my supervisor arrives," she'd whispered over the phone, her voice thin with anxiety. "Come alone." The security camera above the door watches me with its unblinking eye as I press the intercom. 3 seconds of silence, then a soft buzz as the magnetic lock disengages. Inside, the air conditioning hits me like a judgment. Cold, precise, unforgiving. The reception area is empty, the lights still dimmed to night setting. A woman appears from a door behind the desk, her movements quick and furtive, like a sparrow expecting hawks. "Mr. Hunt?" She's younger than I expected, late 20s with dark hair pulled back so severely it seems to stretch her features taut. Her eyes dart past me to check the empty hallway before she gestures me forward. "This way, please. Quickly." Anna Youssef leads me through a series of security doors, each requiring her keycard and fingerprint. The farther we go, the more relaxed her posture becomes. Not comfortable exactly, but less hunted. This deep inside her territory, with layers of security between us and the outside world, she breathes a little easier. "You have them?" she asks, voice barely above a whisper despite the privacy. I place the small velvet pouch on her workstation. Victor Rosenthal provided it yesterday evening after I called to request samples of the suspected fakes. His security delivered it to my new hotel, a different one than where I found the listening device. 3 stones. Mr. Rosenthal says they should be pink diamonds, extremely rare quality. Anna nods, snapping on latex gloves before reaching for the pouch. Her workspace resembles a surgeon's dream, immaculate, organized, with instruments arranged in perfect alignment on a white pad. Overhead, specialized lights flicker on at her touch, bathing the area in a clinical glow that reveals every flaw and shadow. "You understand gems?" she asks, not looking up as she carefully empties the pouch onto the pad. "I understand people who steal them," I reply. "The rocks themselves are just expensive problems." A ghost of a smile touches her lips as she positions a loop in her right eye. "Expensive problems. Yes, that's accurate." Her hands move with practiced precision, selecting a diamond and placing it under a microscope connected to a high-resolution monitor. "These are very good problems, then. Someone has gone to considerable expense to create them." I watch her work, noting the slight furrow between her brows as she examines each stone. She measures, weighs, checks refraction patterns, muttering notes to herself in a mixture of English and what sounds like Arabic. After 15 minutes of meticulous examination, she sits back. "These are definitely synthetic," she says, tapping the largest stone with a delicate instrument. "Laboratory-created diamonds, then treated to create the pink color. To the naked eye, even to many professionals, they would pass as natural. But not to you." Her eyes meet mine briefly. "No, not to me." "What gives them away?" She hesitates, then turns the monitor toward me. "Natural pink diamonds have color zoning, uneven distribution of the pink. These are too perfect, too uniform in their color. And here," she zooms in on a microscopic pattern, "the crystal structure shows growth patterns consistent with lab creation." "How much are they worth?" I ask, studying the magnified image of molecular perfection. Perhaps 40,000 each. Quality synthetics, excellent color. She glances up. But the natural stones they're replacing? Millions. Pink diamonds of this size and quality are among the rarest gems on Earth. I whistle softly. Someone went to a lot of trouble to make the switch look good. Yes? Anna's fingers hover over the keyboard, hesitating. Mr. Hunt, may I ask who else knows you're investigating this? Just my client. Mr. Rosenthal. It's not a question. You know him? She avoids my eyes, busying herself with returning the diamonds to their pouch. Everyone in Dubai's diamond trade knows Victor Rosenthal. His collection is significant. There's something in her tone, not quite fear, but awareness of danger. And what about a man calling himself Prince Karim? You know him too? Her hands freeze for just a second, a tell as clear as a shout. I cannot discuss other clients. I'm not asking as a client. I'm asking as someone who thinks these fakes might be connected to something bigger. Something happening this Friday. Anna's eyes widen slightly. She rises from her chair, moving to a filing cabinet against the far wall. Pretending to search for something, she speaks with her back to me, voice lowered. The man you call Karim brought stones to be appraised last month. Pink diamonds. He claimed they were from a private Saudi collection. Her voice drops even lower. They were genuine. A perfect match for the specifications in the Rosenthal catalog. My pulse quickens. You've seen Rosenthal's catalog? All major collections are documented for insurance. Serious traders know what exists, even in private hands. She returns with a folder, laying it open between us as if showing me documentation. The pages are blank, a prop for our conversation. Karim is not what he claims. The man is Carl Fisher, a known facilitator in the gray market. He specializes in moving rare items between collectors who prefer discretion to legality. And Caroline Rosenthal? Where does she fit? Anna's eyes dart to the security camera in the corner of the room. It's pointed away from us, but her nervousness ratchets up anyway. The woman brings nothing to be appraised herself, but her husband's diamonds disappear, and suddenly identical stones appear in Fisher's hands. She shrugs slightly. Mathematics is not my specialty, but even I can add these numbers. I lean closer, keeping my voice casual. And the exhibition on Friday? The Pink Star Diamond? Her breath catches, a small involuntary sound of surprise. How did you— She stops herself, reorganizing the blank pages in the folder with trembling fingers. You should be careful asking such questions, Mr. Hunt. Some answers are dangerous. Danger pays my rent. It may cost more than money this time. She seals the velvet pouch and slides it across to me, her movements suddenly hurried. You should leave now. Take a different route than you came in. Why? She glances at her computer screen, which now displays the building's security feed. A black SUV has parked across the street, 2 men in suits standing beside it. Because the man who dropped those diamonds at your hotel last night was followed, she says, gathering her things, and now so are you. I pocket the pouch, my mind already mapping exit routes. You seem to know a lot for someone who just examines rocks. Anna's smile is tight with fear. In Dubai, Mr. Hunt, even the walls listen, and I've always had good hearing. She presses her keycard into my hand. Service elevator to the parking garage. Return this to the security desk on your way out. Say you found it in the hallway. As I turn to leave, she catches my sleeve. Friday is not just an exhibition, it's an auction preview. The Pink Star will be there for only 6 hours before going to a secure location. Whatever they're planning, it happens during that window. Her eyes hold mine, filled with a complicated mixture of fear and resolve. Then she releases me, turning back to her workstation, erasing all traces of our meeting from her instruments and her expression. I slip through the door and into the sterile hallway beyond, wondering how many players are in this game and which ones know I've been dealt in. Rain in Dubai feels like an apology from the sky, rare, extravagant, and not entirely sincere. It streaks down the glass walls of skyscrapers in glittering lines, turning the city's constant light show into something wavering and uncertain. From my position at the corner of the Apex Bar's terrace, sheltered under a retractable canopy, I watch the storm perform against the night skyline. Below, 56 floors down, headlights crawl through suddenly slick streets, bright as scattered coins. I've been here for 40 minutes, nursing the same overpriced whiskey, waiting for a woman who makes punctuality a weapon. Caroline Rosenthal arrives at exactly 10:37, 7 minutes late, enough to establish dominance, but not so much that it seems deliberate. She steps onto the terrace like she's entering a stage, pausing to let the hostess take her designer raincoat, revealing a black dress that suggests rather than displays. Her gaze sweeps the half-empty terrace, landing on me with practiced surprise. "Mr. Hunt," she says, sliding into the seat across from me. "How unexpected to find you here." Her lie hangs between us, slick and transparent as the rain. The text message that brought her here came from my phone, after all. "Mrs. Rosenthal, thanks for joining me." I don't stand or offer my hand. The kind of woman who arrives 7 minutes late expects men to rise when she enters. Sometimes disappointment is the best introduction. "I was in the area." Another lie. "Though I'm curious why my husband's investigator would request a meeting without my husband's knowledge." Her perfume reaches me, something expensive and subtle, like money translated into scent. I signal the waiter. Caroline orders gin, specifying the brand, the botanicals, even the temperature. When we're alone again, I lean back, letting silence do the initial work. She's good. Her manicured fingers don't fidget. Her posture remains perfect, her eyes steadily meeting mine. But the slight pulse at her throat betrays her, a tiny drummer keeping time with her accelerated heartbeat. "Your husband hired me to find out if you're having an affair," I say finally. Standard jealous spouse scenario. Her laugh is brief and musical, a practiced sound. "And are you gathering evidence for him tonight, Mr. Hunt? Should I be watching for hidden cameras?" "Actually, I'm more interested in diamonds than bedsheets." The change is subtle, a fractional widening of her eyes, a momentary stillness in her breathing. Then her face smooths into amused confusion. "Diamonds? I'm afraid I don't follow." "Pink ones, specifically. The kind that mysteriously transform from natural stones worth millions into lab-created replicas worth thousands." She takes a sip of her gin, using the gesture to compose herself. "I think you've misunderstood your assignment, Mr. Hunt. My husband asked you to investigate suspected infidelity." "That's what he told me. But the funny thing about marriage, it's rarely just about sex, is it? Usually it's about money. Or, in this case, pink diamonds being stolen and replaced with fakes." Rain drums harder on the canopy above us. Caroline crosses her legs, the movement deliberate, drawing attention to them rather than her face. A basic distraction technique, one I've seen countless times. "If Victor is missing diamonds, that's certainly concerning," she says carefully. "But I fail to see what it has to do with me." "Interesting. I never said he was missing them, just that they'd been replaced with fakes." Her smile doesn't waver. "Semantics, Mr. Hunt. Missing, replaced. The meaning is clear." "Is it?" because there's a difference between diamonds that disappear and diamonds that are still there but aren't what they seem. Like people, sometimes. Her eyes narrow slightly. Are you accusing me of something specific, or is this how you normally conduct investigations, vague insinuations over overpriced drinks? There's nothing vague about the velvet pouch you passed to Prince Karim at the Burj Al Noor. I watch her face carefully as I mention the name. I have photos, if your memory needs refreshing. Caroline's expression shifts into something harder, more calculated. I meet with many business associates of my husband. I sometimes deliver items on his behalf. Funny, your husband says he's never heard of a Prince Karim. Victor meets with dozens of people daily. He can't remember every name. But you remember this one quite well, don't you? I lean forward slightly. Tell me about him. This prince who isn't on any royal registry I could find. She shrugs, one elegant shoulder rising and falling. He's an investor, Saudi family money, interested in expanding his portfolio. Into what? Stolen diamonds? Into legitimate business ventures. Her voice hardens. You're overstepping, Mr. Hunt. My husband hired you to confirm or deny an affair, not to interrogate me about his business associates. Let's talk about the affair, then. You and the prince? Is that genuine passion or just a convenient cover for your business meetings? Her laugh this time lacks the musical quality of before. There is no affair. There is no theft. There's only a sad, jealous husband who can't believe a younger woman married him for anything but his money. And yet you meet alone with this prince. Pass him packages, speak in whispers. Because Victor asked me to. The words escape with more force than she intended. She recovers quickly, smoothing her expression. My husband often has me meet with potential investors. He trusts my judgment. Then why hire me to follow you? Perhaps because trust and paranoia can coexist, Mr. Hunt. It's the foundation of many marriages. She sips her drink again. Including ours. I let that sit for a moment, watching her. The rain has slackened to a gentle patter, no longer drumming but whispering against the glass barriers of the terrace. This prince of yours, I say casually. Interesting choice of hotels. The Burj Al Noor, room 45 centimes, right? She nods without thinking. Yes, the executive suite on the eastern. She stops, realizing her mistake. If she'd only been making innocent deliveries on her husband's behalf, she wouldn't know which room the prince occupied. The eastern corner, I finish for her. With the private terrace and separate entrance, I know it well. Carl Fisher has particular tastes in accommodations. Her composure cracks, not dramatically, but enough. The name registers like a physical touch. I don't know who you're talking about. Sure you do. Carl Fisher, international con man, gem thief, master of false identities, currently playing Prince in a Dubai hotel while planning something big for Friday's Pink Star Diamond exhibition. Caroline's eyes flick to her watch, an involuntary tell. She gathers her clutch, preparing to leave. This conversation is over, Mr. Hunt. I suggest you report to my husband that you found nothing of consequence and book yourself a flight home before you cause trouble for yourself. The trouble's already here, Mrs. Rosenthal, and it has a Friday deadline. She stands, her movements precise and controlled again. Stay away from me and stay away from the exhibition. Final warning. She turns to leave, then pauses. And Mr. Hunt? Check your sources on Carl Fisher. Last I heard, he died in a boating accident off Corsica 2 years ago. I watch her walk away, heels clicking with metronome precision across the terrace. The rain has stopped entirely now, leaving the city gleaming like it's been polished. I drain my whiskey, considering her parting shot. If Caroline thinks Fisher is officially dead, that's valuable information. Either she's being played or she's helping maintain his cover. As I stand to leave, movement on the street below catches my eye. Through the rain-streaked glass barrier, I spot two men standing beside a black SUV, looking up toward the terrace. The same men from outside the appraisal office this morning. One speaks into a phone, his eyes never leaving the building. The other opens the car door, ready. They're not following me anymore. They're waiting for me. I drop cash on the table and head for the service elevator, suddenly appreciating the luxury bar's multiple exits. The game is escalating faster than expected, pieces moving into position before I've fully understood the board. Victor Rosenthal paces before the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse like a man measuring out the dimensions of his own grave. 40 steps from one end to the other, precise, deliberate. The night wraps around the building, held at bay by glass that probably costs more than most houses. Below us, Dubai spreads out in electric constellations, unaware of the conversation about to take place. It's just past midnight, the hour when bad decisions crystallize into plans, when whispered possibilities harden into certainties. I sit in a leather chair worth more than my monthly rent, waiting for him to stop moving and start talking. "They followed you from the apex," he says finally, not turning from the window. "Two men in a black Escalade. You lost them in the mall." Not a question, a statement of fact. I take a slow sip of the 30-year-old scotch he poured when I arrived through his private elevator, the one not listed on the building directory, accessible only with a key he provided yesterday. "Your surveillance is better than theirs," I concede, watching his reflection in the dark glass. "Though I'm curious why you didn't mention you were having me watched when you hired me." Rosenthal turns, his expression unreadable. In the dim light of the penthouse, shadows collect in the hollows of his face, aging him beyond his years. "Insurance. I needed to know if you were reliable." "And your verdict?" "Still pending." He crosses to a desk of polished rosewood, unlocks a drawer with a key from his pocket. "What did Anna Youssef tell you this morning?" I set my glass down carefully. "You know I met with her, but you're asking what she said, which means you don't have audio, just visual confirmation." A tight smile acknowledges the point. "My security team observed you entering the appraisal office. They're good at following, less good at planting bugs in secure facilities." She confirmed the diamonds are high-quality synthetics, pink coloration added artificially, convincing enough to fool most people but not experts. I pause, watching him. She also recognized the name Carl Fisher. Something flickers in Rosenthal's eyes, not surprise, but confirmation. "And my wife? What did she reveal during your conversation?" "That she knows which hotel room Fisher stays in. That she believes he died 2 years ago in Corsica, that she's lying about both the affair and the diamonds." I lean forward. "What she doesn't know is whether you're actually the target or just a convenient supplier of authentication samples." Rosenthal removes a slim metal case from the drawer, setting it on the desk with precise movements. "Authentication samples," he repeats. "Yes, that's their game. Caroline isn't stealing my diamonds because they're valuable in themselves, though they certainly are. She's stealing them to prove the provenance of something bigger." "The Pink Star Diamond," I say. "The exhibition on Friday." He nods, unsurprised that I've put it together. 87 carats, valued at $70 million. A natural fancy vivid pink, the rarest of the rare. His fingers trace the edge of the metal case. "If you're planning to steal something that unique, you need to already have a buyer lined up. And that buyer will want verification that you can deliver the genuine article." So they steal your pink diamonds, use them to prove to a buyer they can authenticate the real thing, then pull off the heist at the exhibition. I sip my scotch, letting the pieces click into place. But you knew this already, before you hired me. Not all of it. Rosenthal opens the case, revealing a row of pink diamonds nestled in black foam. They catch the low light, throwing tiny prisms across his face. I suspected Caroline was involved with someone. I suspected they were targeting my collection. The rest, he shrugs. That's why I hired you. I study the diamonds in the case. Those are more fakes? Better than the ones they replaced mine with. A hint of professional pride enters his voice. These are virtually indistinguishable from natural stones, even under microscopic examination. But they have one significant difference. He lifts one with a pair of tweezers, holding it under a desk lamp. GPS trackers, microscopic, embedded in the crystal structure itself. Activate when they move more than 50 meters from a paired device. The implications unfold in my mind. You're planning to let them take these, to follow them to whoever's behind this. Not just whoever's behind it, to the buyer. Rosenthal's eyes gleam with something harder than avarice. Fisher has built a network. Buyers, sellers, fences, forgers. I want all of them. I set my glass down, suddenly wary. That's not a job for a private investigator, Rosenthal. That's international law enforcement territory. Which is why the Dubai police are already involved. He nods toward a door I hadn't paid much attention to earlier. It opens, and a compact man in an immaculate suit steps through, late 50s, with the steady gaze of someone used to being obeyed. Chief Al-Farsi, Rosenthal introduces him, head of special operations for Dubai Police. The police chief inclines his head slightly, his expression revealing nothing. Mr. Hunt, your reputation precedes you. I wasn't aware I had a reputation in Dubai. Anyone who can lose a surveillance team in Al Noor Mall during rush hour earns a certain professional respect. Al-Farsi's English is perfect, his tone just short of approving. I look between them, recalculating. So, this is a sting. You're using me to get close to Caroline and Fisher, to plant these trackers in diamonds they'll steal. Rosenthal closes the case with a soft click. We need someone they don't associate with Dubai police, someone who appears to be exactly what you are, an American PI hired to investigate infidelity who stumbled onto something bigger. What exactly are you asking me to do? Al-Farsi answers. Approach Mrs. Rosenthal again. Tell her you've discovered her husband is planning to move his collection to a secure facility on Friday, coincidentally the same day as the exhibition. Suggest that if she and her partner are planning anything, tomorrow is their last opportunity. You want me to accelerate their timeline? We want you to force them to act before the exhibition, Rosenthal corrects. To steal these traceable diamonds, believing they're the real ones, and take them to their buyer for authentication. Once the buyer has confirmed them, we'll have everyone in the same place. I consider the layers of deception, looking for the angle that threatens me most. And if they realize I'm setting them up? Al-Farsi's smile doesn't reach his eyes. Then you become a regrettable casualty in an international diamond theft investigation. Comforting. Rosenthal walks back to the window, staring out at his city. There's $500,000 in it for you, Hunt. Successful completion, tax-free, in whatever account you designate. And if I walk away, then you're on the next flight to Phoenix with your standard rate and expenses paid. He turns, his expression suddenly tired. But you won't. You're too deep now, and you want to know how it ends. He's right, damn him. I've never been good at walking away from unfinished stories, especially ones where I've become a character rather than just an observer. The trackers, I say. How long do they last? 72 hours once activated, Al-Farsi answers. More than enough time. And Caroline? What happens to her when this is over? Something passes across Rosenthal's face. Not quite regret, not quite satisfaction. That depends on what we learn. If she's being manipulated by Fisher, there may be considerations. I don't believe him, but it doesn't matter. Caroline made her choices. So did Fisher. So am I, right now. Half up front, I counter. In an escrow account, released when the operation concludes, regardless of the outcome. Rosenthal and Al-Farsi exchange glances. The police chief nods almost imperceptibly. Done, Rosenthal says, returning to his desk. My lawyer will arrange it in the morning. He extends his hand, and I rise to shake it. His grip is dry but strong, the handshake of a man sealing a deal he expects to benefit from. Our eyes meet, and for a moment I see past the businessman facade to something colder, more calculated. This isn't just about diamonds or a faithless wife. There's something else at stake, something he's not telling me. But I shake his hand anyway, feeling the weight of the decision settle between us. Whatever game we're playing, the pieces are now in motion, the board set for a final confrontation. Tomorrow, then, Rosenthal says, releasing my hand. My security team will escort you out through the service entrance. Until this is over, we should maintain the appearance of distance. As I follow the silent security man to the elevator, I glance back once. Rosenthal stands at the window again, his silhouette sharp against the glittering city beyond. Al-Farsi has disappeared, melting back into whatever shadows police chiefs occupy when they're planning international stings. The elevator doors close, cutting off my view. As I descend toward the ground, I wonder which of us is really being played. Caroline, Fisher, or me. By tomorrow night, I suspect we'll all know the answer. The warehouse smells like salt, rust, and secrets, a trinity of neglect that permeates everything from the corroded metal beams to the concrete floor, stained with decades of spilled cargo. I'm crouched behind a stack of forgotten shipping crates, muscles cramping from 30 minutes of stillness, watching moonlight filter through broken skylights. The sliver of phone screen in my pocket shows 2:17 a.m., right on schedule for people who trade in darkness. I found this place through Caroline's own carelessness. A text message glimpsed in the reflection of her gin glass at the Apex bar. Coordinates disguised as a phone number. Sloppy tradecraft for someone playing in waters this deep. Now I'm waiting in a building that died when shipping containers made longshoremen obsolete, my back against splintered wood, my hand near the specialized phone Rosenthal provided. One button to activate the trackers once the diamonds change hands. Headlights sweep across the far wall, catching dust motes in their beams. The roll-up door at the loading dock groans as someone raises it manually, the metal complaining after years of disuse. A luxury SUV slides into the space, midnight black with windows tinted beyond legal limits. Caroline emerges first, her silhouette unmistakable even in the gloom. She's traded designer dresses for practical darkness, black pants, fitted jacket, hair pulled severely back. Gone is the socialite wife, replaced by something harder and more focused. Carl Fisher follows, moving with the practiced ease of a man who spent his life in shadows. He carries a slim attaché case handcuffed to his wrist, an old-school security measure that speaks to either paranoia or experience. Probably both. They don't speak as they scan the warehouse, Fisher's eyes moving methodically while Caroline's dart nervously. I press deeper into my hiding place, grateful for the years of dust that mask my scent. Clear, Fisher announces, his voice echoing slightly in the cavernous space. Set up there. He points to a scarred wooden table near the center of the room, directly beneath one of the skylights. Strategic, natural light for examining gems, but still concealed from aerial observation. Caroline arranges 2 folding chairs from the back of the SUV, then places a small case on the table. Her movements are precise, but tight with tension. They're late. They're cautious, Fisher corrects, checking his watch. As they should be. I shift my weight slightly, easing the pressure on my right knee. A floorboard creaks beneath me, barely audible, but in the midnight quiet, it might as well be a gunshot. Caroline's head snaps toward my corner of the warehouse. What was that? Her voice rises half an octave. Fisher's hand slides inside his jacket, emerging with a matte black pistol. Probably rats. This place is full of them. The double meaning hangs in the air between us. For 20 seconds that stretch like hours, they stare toward my position. I control my breathing, focus on stillness, become part of the warehouse's forgotten inventory. Finally, Fisher lowers his weapon. Check the perimeter again, he tells Caroline. They'll be here any minute. She circles the space, flashlight beam dancing across debris and shadows, coming within 15 feet of my position before turning back. I exhale silently, feeling sweat cool against my neck. The second vehicle arrives 10 minutes later, an unmarked panel van with Dubai plates, driven by a man whose face suggests a lifetime of poor decisions. He parks beside the SUV, kills the engine, and waits. After 30 seconds, 2 more men emerge from the back, Middle Eastern, expensively dressed despite the hour and location, moving with the confidence of people accustomed to protection. No visible weapons, but the bulges beneath their jackets speak volumes. Gentlemen, Fisher greets them with a slight bow. Thank you for accommodating the change in schedule. The older of the 2 men, gray at the temples, eyes like polished stones, acknowledges this with the barest nod. We were promised authenticity. Nothing else would bring us to such a distasteful location. Of course, Fisher gestures to the table. Shall we? I ease forward, moving inches at a time, until I'm positioned behind a forklift with a clear view of the proceedings. From here I can see the table, the players, and most importantly, the diamonds when they make their appearance. Caroline opens her case first, removing a jeweler's loop and a small electronic device I recognize as a diamond tester. Fisher unfastens the attaché case from his wrist, entering a combination before laying it flat on the table. The older buyer watches impassively, while his companion scans the warehouse continuously, hand never straying far from his concealed weapon. As agreed, Fisher says, opening the case to reveal the velvet interior. The complete set of pink diamonds from the Rosenthal collection. 12 stones ranging from 3 to 7 carats. Natural fancy vivids, untreated, GIA certified. My heart rate kicks up a notch. Those are Rosenthal's special trackers, identical to the stolen diamonds in appearance, but carrying microscopic GPS units that activate with movement. Right now, they're dormant. Once the deal concludes, one press of a button will bring Dubai's finest down on this gathering like divine judgment. The older buyer lifts one stone with specialized tweezers, examining it through the loop. The color saturation is remarkable. The best stones in Rosenthal's collection, Caroline confirms, her voice steady now, worth $15 million on the open market. And these will authenticate the pink star? The buyer's question hangs in the air, confirming our theory. Fisher smiles thinly. Same origin, same quality, same certification process. The auction house gemologists won't be able to distinguish them from the display stones once we make the switch. The buyer nods, continuing his examination. One by one, he tests each diamond, checking color, clarity, and electronic response. I remain frozen, aware that discovery now would be fatal. These aren't men who leave witnesses. "The payment," Fisher says after 20 minutes of silent inspection. The younger buyer places a laptop on the table, turns it toward Fisher. "Verification code?" Fisher recites a string of numbers and letters, an offshore account, no doubt. The buyer types, then turns the screen toward his companion, who nods once. "Transfer complete," the younger man says. 20 million. Half now, half upon successful delivery of the Pink Star. Caroline's eyes widen slightly. Clearly, Fisher negotiated a higher price than he'd told her about. Another betrayal in a night full of them. "Excellent." Fisher closes the case, slides it across the table. "Gentlemen, we have a deal." As the buyer takes possession of the diamonds, I press the button on my phone, feeling it vibrate once in confirmation. The trackers are live, broadcasting their position to Rosenthal and Dubai police. Somewhere across the city, a tactical team is mobilizing. The buyers return the diamonds to their own secure case, nodding with satisfaction. "Friday, then," the older man says, "after the authentication before the transfer to the secure vault." "We'll handle the exhibition security," Fisher confirms. "Your team manages the extraction." They shake hands, honor among thieves, or its approximate facsimile. Caroline stands slightly apart, her expression unreadable in the dim light. I wonder if she realizes she's been cut out of the larger score, reduced to a mere accessory in Fisher's grand scheme. As they prepare to leave, I ease my phone from my pocket, composing the text that will bring this operation to its conclusion. To Rosenthal and Al-Farsi: "Diamonds transferred, GPS active, buyers confirmed intent for Friday heist, moving to position Alpha." I press send, then begin the careful process of extracting myself from my hiding place. In less than 10 minutes, this warehouse will be swarming with Dubai's tactical police. I need to be waiting at the predetermined extraction point, out of the line of fire when everything explodes. Behind me, car doors slam as Fisher, Caroline, and their buyers prepare to leave, unaware that their freedom has just ticked down to minutes. The only question now is whether the police will move fast enough to catch them all in the same net. The warehouse office smells like cigarettes from a decade past, and the peculiar staleness of forgotten paperwork. I'm crouched beside a metal desk, watching through a grimy window as Caroline and Fisher make their final preparations to leave. 3 minutes since I sent the text. Dubai tactical response teams move fast, but time stretches when you're waiting for cavalry that may or may not arrive before the targets vanish into the night. I'd slipped away from my hiding place while the criminals were focused on their transaction, navigating through shadows to this elevated office overlooking the main floor. Better vantage point, secondary exit through a rusted fire escape, and solid walls between me and whatever's about to happen. In my line of work, you learn to find the observer's perch, close enough to witness, far enough to survive. 4 minutes now. Fisher is helping the buyers load their precious cargo into the panel van. Caroline stands by the SUV, checking her phone with the nervous energy of someone who senses the trap closing. Something has her spooked. Woman's intuition or criminal's paranoia, it doesn't matter which. Her hand keeps drifting toward her purse, where I'd glimpsed the outline of a small pistol earlier. The first sign comes not as a sound, but as an absence, the sudden disappearance of ambient light from the loading dock entrance. Someone has killed the distant security lamp. Fisher notices, too, his head snapping up like a predator scenting danger. His hand moves to his jacket, but he's already too late. The breach happens with synchronized precision. Tactical lights blaze through every entrance simultaneously, turning night into blinding day. The roll-up door explodes inward, torn from its tracks by the armored vehicle that rams through it. Black-clad figures pour through the breach, weapons raised, voices bellowing in a mixture of Arabic and English. "Dubai police! Freeze! Hands where we can see them!" The command repeats in 3 languages, amplified to painful levels. Disorientation tactics. Light, noise, sudden movement, designed to overwhelm the survival brain before rational thought can form a defense. I press myself lower behind the desk, squinting against the assault of light, watching the scene unfold with professional detachment. Fisher reacts with the instincts of a career criminal. He drops flat behind the SUV, weapon already drawn, seeking cover before his conscious mind has processed the threat. The younger buyer panics, making a desperate sprint for the side exit, only to collide with a wall of tactical officers who materialize from the darkness. They take him down hard, his expensive suit collecting concrete dust as they zip-tie his wrists. Caroline stands frozen in the tsunami of light and sound, her expression shifting from confusion to rage to something like resigned understanding. When she finally moves, it's not to flee or fight, but to slowly raise her hands, fingers spread wide, the gesture of someone who's calculated all possible outcomes and found surrender the only viable option. The older buyer shows why he's survived in this business. He simply kneels, places his hands behind his head, and waits. No resistance, no dramatic gestures. The tactical team secures him with professional efficiency, retrieving the case of diamonds from the van with gloved hands, preserving the chain of evidence. Only Fisher chooses violence. From his position behind the SUV, he fires twice, wild, desperate shots that punch holes in the warehouse ceiling. The response is immediate and overwhelming. 4 officers converge on his position, firing not bullets, but taser probes. Fisher's body goes rigid, his weapon clattering to the concrete as 50,000 volts short-circuit his nervous system. He collapses in a heap of expensive clothing and failed escape plans. "Clear." The call echoes through the warehouse as sections are systematically secured. "Suspects contained." I remain in my observation post, watching as the chaos resolves into ordered procedure. Evidence teams materialize, collecting the diamonds, the laptop, phones, weapons. Every item is photographed in place before being bagged and tagged. The 4 suspects are kept separated, each with their own cluster of guards, none allowed to communicate. Caroline sits on a folding chair, back straight as a dancer's, despite the circumstances. She stares straight ahead, refusing to acknowledge the officers cataloging the contents of her purse. The small pistol emerges, a .22 caliber Beretta, easily concealed, deadly at close range. She doesn't react as it's sealed in an evidence bag. Fisher lies prone on the ground, still occasionally twitching from the taser aftermath. He mutters continuously. Threats, curses, or perhaps bargaining. Whatever his words, the stoic officers securing the scene pay them no attention. 10 minutes after the breach, a black Mercedes with diplomatic plates rolls quietly through the damaged entrance. The back doors open in synchronized precision, revealing Victor Rosenthal and Chief Al Farsi. They survey the scene with the measured satisfaction of architects whose blueprint has manifested exactly as designed. Al Farsi moves first, conferring briefly with the tactical commander, receiving updates with short nods. Rosenthal stands apart, his eyes fixed on Caroline. The air between them vibrates with unspoken accusations. When he finally approaches her, the officers step discreetly back, creating an illusion of privacy in this most public of moments. Was it worth it? Rosenthal asks, his voice carrying to my elevated position. 15 years of marriage for this? Caroline looks up at him, her composure intact despite the handcuffs. You never saw me, she says. Not once. You saw a trophy, an accessory. Fisher saw a partner. And how did that partnership work out? Rosenthal gestures to Fisher, now being hauled to his feet, still disoriented from the taser. He negotiated $20 million. How much was your share going to be? Something flickers across Caroline's face, the first crack in her armor. Fisher had clearly kept details from her, another betrayal in a chain of deceptions. The Pink Star job would have been another $50 million, Rosenthal continues, twisting the knife. Did he mention that? Or were you just the convenient access to my collection, Caroline? The woman who knew the combination to my safe? Before she can answer, Al Farsi approaches, ending their private reckoning. Mr. Rosenthal, we have what we need. The diamonds are secured, and we've confirmed the larger conspiracy. He glances toward the office where I'm concealed. Your man did good work. Rosenthal nods, stepping away from his wife without a backward glance. Hunt knows his business. Al Farsi signals to an officer who approaches the office stairway, my cue to emerge from shadows into light. I descend to the warehouse floor, feeling the attention shift briefly to me before returning to the more interesting spectacle of handcuffed criminals. The trackers worked perfectly, Al Farsi tells me, his tone professionally satisfied. We've already identified the buyer's connections to 3 other unsolved diamond thefts across Europe. Fisher stares at me as I approach, recognition dawning in his eyes. You set us up, he says, voice thick with hatred. The P.I., working both sides. No, I correct him, just doing the job I was paid for, following the evidence. I glance at Caroline, who watches me with a curious detachment, as if seeing something unexpected. The diamonds were never the real target. You were. Al Farsi checks his watch, then nods to his team. Process them downtown. Full media blackout until the statement tomorrow. He turns to me, offering a brief nod that contains both acknowledgement and dismissal. Mr. Hunt, your work here is concluded. As the suspects are led away, Caroline passes close enough for me to hear her final assessment. You're good, she murmurs, but you should ask yourself who's really being played. I watch them go, Fisher still struggling against inevitability, the buyers maintaining dignified silence, Caroline walking with her head high despite the handcuffs. Rosenthal stands apart, his victory seeming suddenly hollow in the harsh tactical lights. The case is solved, the criminals caught, justice in process. So why does her question linger, echoing in the spaces between certainty? Al Farsi claps my shoulder briefly. The funds will transfer as agreed. Dubai thanks you for your service. Service. An interesting word for what just happened. As evidence teams continue their methodical processing, I wonder who truly won tonight and what price we'll all eventually pay for this victory. Court 5 of the Dubai International Justice Center smells like furniture polish and expensive aftershave. 3 weeks after the warehouse raid, justice moves with the efficient coldness of an air conditioning system, invisible currents directing everyone to their proper places. I sit in the back row of the gallery, an observer rather than a participant, now that my testimony has been given and recorded. The polished wood beneath my hands feels smooth as riverstone, worn down by thousands of anxious fingers awaiting verdicts that would change lives. The room hushes as a side door opens and the defendants enter. Caroline Rosenthal walks with the same straight-backed poise she showed in handcuffs at the warehouse, though prison beige has replaced designer labels. Without makeup, her face reveals a map of fine lines, tracks of ambition and disappointment that makeup had previously concealed. Behind her, Carl Fisher shuffles in leg restraints, his natural swagger diminished, but not extinguished. 3 weeks in Dubai's central holding facility has left his perfect tan faded, his custom suits exchanged for the same institutional beige as Caroline's. Even in matching prison wear, they look like different species. She all-controlled dignity, he radiating the feral awareness of a predator assessing escape routes. The two buyers received their justice in a separate courtroom yesterday, 15 years each for conspiracy and attempted theft. Money and connections couldn't save them once the evidence tied them to similar heists across 3 continents. Sometimes justice actually works, even for the wealthy. Sometimes. "All rise!" the command snaps through the courtroom, bringing everyone to their feet as Judge Nasir enters, a slight man with silver-rimmed glasses and the weight of international law behind him. He settles into his high-backed chair with the practiced ease of someone who's spent decades deciding the fates of those who stand before him. "Be seated," he instructs, his English clipped and precise. The rustle of movement dies quickly. Victor Rosenthal sits in the front row, directly behind the prosecution table. I've been watching him since he entered, the careful way he's positioned himself to see Caroline's face, the studied neutrality of his expression. Whatever private emotions churn beneath that expensive suit, he's determined to reveal nothing. Chief Al-Farsi sits near him, separated by an empty seat that speaks volumes about their temporary alliance. The police chief's presence is unusual for a case already prosecuted, a subtle message about the importance of this particular judgment. Judge Nasir adjusts his glasses, reviews the papers before him, then fixes his gaze on the defendants. In the matter of Dubai International Authority versus Caroline Elizabeth Rosenthal and Carl James Fisher, this court has reviewed all evidence and testimony. His voice carries without apparent effort, filling the courtroom. The charges are serious: grand theft, conspiracy to commit fraud, attempted robbery, illegal use of forged documents, and conspiracy to commit international gem theft. Caroline's expression doesn't flicker. Fisher stares at his hands, the performance of contrition unconvincing. The evidence presented leaves no room for doubt. The defendants worked together to steal valuable diamonds from Mr. Rosenthal's private collection, replacing them with high-quality synthetic stones. These diamonds were then used as authentication samples to facilitate a planned heist of the Pink Star diamond during its exhibition. The judge pauses, allowing the weight of these facts to settle. The Pink Star, 87 carats of flawless pink diamond worth $70 million, remains secure, its exhibition concluded without incident. The only thing stolen was the future Caroline and Fisher thought they were creating. "Caroline Elizabeth Rosenthal, please rise." She stands, shoulders squared, eyes forward. "This court finds you guilty on all charges. Taking into account your previously unblemished record and cooperation during investigation, you are sentenced to 5 years imprisonment, of which you will serve a minimum of 3 years. The judge looks at her directly. "However, in accordance with international agreements between the United Arab Emirates and the United States, you will be deported to America to serve your sentence, after which you will be permanently barred from returning to the UAE. A muscle twitches in Caroline's jaw, the only visible reaction to her fate. Behind her, Victor's expression remains carved from stone. "Carl James Fisher, please rise." Fisher stands, affecting casualness that can't quite hide the tension in his shoulders. "This court finds you guilty on all charges. Given your extensive criminal history, including crimes committed under multiple false identities, you are sentenced to 20 years imprisonment, to be served in the United Arab Emirates Central Correctional Facility. Judge Nasir's tone hardens slightly. You will serve a minimum of 15 years before consideration for parole, and you will be permanently barred from entering any Gulf Cooperation Council nation upon release. Fisher's practiced nonchalance cracks. 20 years in a Dubai prison, a death sentence by another name for a man in his late 40s who spent his life in luxury. The court further orders that all assets seized during the investigation be liquidated, with proceeds distributed to victims of previous diamond thefts linked to the defendants. The judge addresses the court at large. This case represents not merely theft, but a violation of the trust and security that makes Dubai a center for international commerce. Let the sentences reflect our commitment to protecting that reputation. A single sharp rap of his gavel. Court is adjourned. As the defendants are led away, Caroline finally breaks her forward gaze, turning slightly to look at Victor. Their eyes meet across the courtroom, a moment of silent communication charged with meanings I can only guess at. 15 years of marriage, ending not with divorce papers, but prison sentences and deportation orders. Whatever passes between them in that look remains their final private exchange. Victor stands as she's escorted out, straightening his tie with precise movements that suggest he's holding himself together through sheer force of will. For a moment, I glimpse something raw in his expression, not triumph or satisfaction, but a complicated grief. Then his lawyer approaches, murmuring something that returns him to the present moment, and the vulnerability vanishes behind his usual mask of controlled competence. Al-Farsi approaches me as the courtroom begins to empty, his hand extended. "Mr. Hunt, justice is served." I shake his hand, noting the satisfaction in his eyes. "Justice has many flavors, Chief." "Indeed, but in this case, clear and unambiguous." He glances toward the door where Fisher disappeared. "A dangerous man removed from society, stolen property recovered, international theft ring dismantled. A good outcome." "And Mrs. Rosenthal?" I ask, watching Victor collect his things, careful not to look in my direction. Al-Farsi's expression softens fractionally. "A sad case, but she made her choices." He checks his watch. "Your final payment has been processed. Dubai thanks you for your assistance." As he moves away, I remain seated, watching the choreography of justice concluding around me. Clerks gathering papers, security preparing to clear the room, attorneys exchanging final words with clients and opponents alike. Victor walks out without acknowledging me, his shoulders straight, but something diminished in his stride. The man who has everything he wanted and nothing he needs. I'm the last to leave, rising only when the court officer gives me a pointed look. In the marble hallway outside, sunlight streams through high windows, casting precise geometric patterns across the floor. Caroline's final words at the warehouse echo in my thoughts. "You should ask yourself who's really being played." I still don't have a satisfactory answer. Victor got his diamonds back and saw his unfaithful wife punished. Caroline escaped the harshest penalties through cooperation and will serve her time in an American facility, closer to whatever future awaits her after prison. Fisher lost everything, as did the buyers. Justice, by Dubai's definition. So, why does victory taste like lukewarm coffee and missed connections? I shake off the question as I push through the heavy courthouse doors into blinding sunlight. Another case closed, another check cleared. Time to go home. The Emirates first-class lounge floats 30 feet above the main concourse, a bubble of privilege where even the air feels filtered of desperation and disappointment. Through floor-to-ceiling windows, Dubai spreads out in a geometry of impossible ambition, glass needles piercing clouds, man-made islands reshaping coastlines, the endless desert held at bay by money and obstinance. My coffee costs $18 and tastes like liquid regret. Appropriate, given the circumstances. My flight to Phoenix boards in 40 minutes. The ticket, upgraded from business to first class without my request, appeared in my email this morning, along with confirmation of the final payment. $500,000 now sits in my Cayman account, untraceable and untaxed. Victor Rosenthal pays his debts promptly, if not warmly. He hasn't spoken to me directly since the warehouse, communicating only through his attorney and assistants. I've served my purpose, and in his world, tools are put away once the job is finished. A text message vibrates my phone. Account details from Anna Yusuf, the diamond appraiser who first confirmed the fakes. She's leaving Dubai tomorrow, accepting a position with a Swiss firm that admired her work on the case. Smart woman. In this city, knowing too much is a liability, not an asset. I send her a brief congratulations, then delete our entire conversation history. Some connections are best severed cleanly. My reflection in the window looks tired, older than when I arrived. 3 weeks in Dubai has added new lines around my eyes, a deeper furrow between my brows. Beyond my ghostly image, the Burj Khalifa catches the morning sun, a monument to humanity's determination to defy natural limits. Like everything in this city, it's both impressive and faintly obscene, too tall, too shiny, too insistent on its own importance. Caroline Rosenthal will be on a different flight, escorted by U.S. Marshals to begin her sentence in a minimum security facility in California. I wonder what she sees when she looks out her window. Freedom receding, or just another phase in a life determined to transcend limitations? There was something in her final courtroom glance at Victor that suggested unfinished business. 3 years isn't forever, especially for a woman with her resources and determination. Victor got everything he wanted. His diamonds returned, his wife punished, his reputation as a man not to be crossed firmly established. He'll continue acquiring wealth and objects, filling the spaces around him with possessions that never quite touch the emptiness at his center. I almost pity him, sitting alone in that gleaming penthouse, surrounded by treasures that mean nothing without someone to share them with. Fisher faces a harsher reality. 20 years in a Dubai prison will strip away every layer of his carefully constructed persona until nothing remains but regret and fading charm. Men like him don't age well in captivity. They require freedom and fresh targets to maintain their sense of self. By the time he emerges, the world will have moved on, leaving him a footnote in the history of spectacular failures. The voice on the airport PA system announces another departure, the words flowing in English and Arabic. Around me, travelers move with the peculiar urgency of people with nowhere particular to be. A young family settles at a nearby table, the children subdued by travel fatigue, the parents navigating the complex choreography of passports and boarding passes. Normal life continuing while I sit suspended between cases, between identities. Justice has been served, according to Dubai's definition. The criminals caught, the property recovered, the sentences handed down. So why does completion feel so much like loss? Perhaps because justice and fairness rarely occupy the same space. Caroline will serve 3 years for a crime that earned Fisher 20. The difference isn't just their criminal histories, but their values to different players in the game. She had information to trade, he had only his skills and reputation. My coffee has gone cold, bitter at the bottom of the cup. I leave it unfinished and move to the window, pressing my palm against the glass. The heat of the desert transfers through despite the air conditioning's best efforts, a reminder that beneath the veneer of civilization, primal forces still govern this landscape. Dubai exists as an act of defiance against nature, against limitations, against the very idea of impossibility. In that way, it's the perfect setting for this case, a story about people refusing to accept the boundaries of law, marriage, loyalty. Caroline wanted more than being a trophy wife. Fisher wanted wealth without the constraints of earning it legitimately. Victor wanted ownership without the messiness of genuine connection. Each reached beyond their grasp, and each paid a different price for that ambition. And me? I came for a paycheck and found myself a pawn in a game with rules I'm still deciphering. The money will clear, the case file will close, and I'll return to Phoenix with another story I can't fully tell. Another series of moments that change me in ways clients never consider when they hire a detective to uncover truths they only think they want to know. The final boarding call for my flight echoes through the lounge. I gather my carry-on, a new one, purchased to replace the bag compromised during the investigation. As I head toward the gate, Dubai's skyline seems to shimmer slightly, as if acknowledging our temporary connection before releasing me back to my ordinary life. Some stones aren't worth the price. In this city of gold and shadows, justice always leaves a scar. The trick is learning to wear those scars with the same conviction as your successes, to recognize that every case solved creates its own set of mysteries. I've done my job, collected my fee, and served the cause of whatever passes for justice in a world where everything, even diamonds, can be convincingly faked. The jetway stretches before me like a promise of escape. Behind me, Dubai continues its impossible existence, a mirage made permanent through sheer force of will. I don't look back as I board the plane. In my business, looking back is a luxury you can't afford, not when the next case is always waiting just beyond the horizon.